Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Eamon's Bogus Hangout. We've got guests here who are going to introduce themselves. Steve, introduce yourself.
Hi, Steve Gretzer from Steam Driven Media.
Terry.
Terry Van Horn, semi-retired. Actually found something today that I want to work on. All our talk about LSI keywords, which are actually word vectors, I guess, and that sort of thing. I actually did a search this morning. What is a word vector? Very interesting stuff.
That was, that link you shared, Terry?
Yeah.
That guy did a great job of talking it through. He really presented it very well.
First time, Dave, and a number of people have written articles about it, but I never really understood what it was doing. That was like seeing the guts of it, you know what I mean? It was an
outstanding article.
So it was a dissection of word vectors live?
How they're arrived at and how they're processed and interact. You know, I mean, they're mathematical, and you can add and subtract between two, but how they can correlate to each other in terms of entity correlation. And it actually, you know, I've done a lot of reading on vectors and thought I had a pretty good understanding of it, but it actually cleared up one area in which I was off in left field. Okay.
It's like the layman's version, if you ask me. Like,
yeah, well, I've always looked at them as three-dimensional, and they're not really. They're fourth dimension. And I was impressed. I don't know who that guy is, but I'm going to have to start following him because he's got his head screwed on tight.
Yeah, if you start following the links in that article, you'll find more work by other people doing the same sort of stuff. Yeah, that was occasionally you get lucky when you're searching for something, and that was the simplest query. You would think that would be the first thing we would do when you're looking at something like that, but that was very fruitful search.
That sounds like that should be Google's new catchphrase there, Terry. Sometimes you get lucky when you're doing search.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of we try really hard, but sometimes you'll get the right result anyway.
You feel lucky. Yeah.
I'll drop in the chat here. I'll drop the link for Steve and Bill.
Thank you.
Jayesh Bahir, I think is the way you would pronounce his name, but I was impressed. Very, very well written.
Yeah, when you start looking at some of his links, he's an actual programmer for natural language processing.
Yeah.
So there were some interesting resources there as far as, yeah.
Now, I've only gotten about halfway through it because I've been tied up this morning, but it was definitely bookmark stuff.
Well, I told Bill I was going to go and find some links to talk about today on other websites, and this seemed like on some news and stuff like we used to do on the regulators a bit to give us some fresh topics, and didn't do that, just kept going here.
Got the rabbit hole, huh?
Yeah. Found some really neat resources. One was a list of 1 million entities and a few other resources that I'm actually considering doing some work now and building a LSI keyword tool.
Oh, God.
I mean, I might as well use the stupid language that they all understand.
Well, go all the way, Terry. Go LDA. You
know? LSI keyword tool.
No, I do. If I did that, it would be only to piss you off.
I know, but I'm seeing people call Watson Natural Language Processing API as an LSI keyword tool. And it's like, IBM doesn't know they make an LSI keyword tool, do they?
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, the resource I found does not have an API. That was what was really interesting about that one, was there's no
How do
APIs.
1 million entities fit on a web page?
It would be how you match it. Yeah, it's very interesting. Let's put it that way. I'll show you. I don't want to give away a lot of the work yet. Still a little further along the process myself. If it was in PHP, I'd have no problem. But it's in another language that I not worked with, and I'm not going to learn languages now. Like that's like starting a new career all over again.
Struggle enough with English.
Yeah, right. And PHP and ASP. The ones I know, I have enough trouble with those. I don't need to learn more. So I thought I'd help someone who's kind of dabbling in that space. So, which
Have you looked at the categories in Google image search recently?
no, but in that regard, when we were talking about the ontologies and categories, yes, in the last talk, I actually remembered, right, that Majestic, they now you can pull, they actually categorize links like where they think that is. They grab the category off the ontology on the website, which is they try
off the ontology from the link search.
I don't know exactly, so I'm not gonna but I do know that you can
not providing an ontology for organic search.
No, what it provides is it tells you the category of the resources that you're looking at when you look at a list of backlinks. So it'll put it into a category for you.
I think Dixon Jones knew.
That's where it is. That's what it is. It's a
Inlinks.
pretty new tool, and it's really good for figuring out your categories. You can actually see correlation between the categories there and ranking. Like, if you look at a backlink profile and one has a lot of what you would call really good categories, close, whereas you got the internet broad category type thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, so Majestic went through a number of upgrades. They added a number of things. One of them was associated with the reasonable surfer approach, where they let you know the context of a link on a page.
Nope, that isn't the tool. This one actually, it added a new metric to the thing as well.
Yeah, this is inlinks.net that Dixon and I forget the other fellow's name now, but
his new company.
Fred, say again?
It's his new company.
Yeah, and it's sweet. It really does give some good information.
Oh, this is actually in Majestic SEO right now.
Okay,
has been for a while because I was it basically puts every inbound link to a site. It tries to categorize it. How it's doing that, I'm not sure, but I think it's partly through whatever ontology they find on the directory, for instance, or the context of the link.
No, it's probably doing more than just looking at the anchor text.
Yeah, I believe so, yes. It might even be looking to see if they can find it. I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but it's on Majestic. For the next show, Bill, I'll know exactly what tool it is and what
Yeah,
they're doing.
I like the image search ontologies because they are very informative. If you like look up U.S. presidents, look up Donald Trump versus John F. Kennedy, and look at what they talk about, what the categories are, you can get a good history of those people from those categories.
Yeah, I saw your thread earlier, Bill, and I went and did that little experiment, the Google versus Bing image search and the categories.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I found in mine, the results were pretty similar, but I found, using those categories, you can drill down. I've never actually used image search to derive categories before.
Yeah.
And that's some good information from both of them.
Yeah, I got people at GoFish using those now to look at what categories fit a website and to do keyword research. Does it make sense to use that to do keyword research?
Yeah, I've used it for keyword research, but never specifically looking for categories. That's an interesting twist.
Yeah. Well, the thing that it shows too are related entities. And that's
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
And you do a search for Harry Potter in Google, just in web search, and you don't get all the different entities. You do it in image
Here's
search.
an answer from Amazon.
Put that genie back in the bottle.
I don't know why I'm getting answers from Amazon. I'm afraid to ask it. But you do get related entities in the image search, which is a good thing to see.
Yeah, I think also when you look on the SERP itself and see those related entities and the questions that it puts in the SERPs now is pretty
The
good information as well.
related questions people also ask. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty easy to parse out of the results too.
Yeah, I still see an awful lot of people also ask things that just seem way out in left field. There are some good ones in there.
How
Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Doc. But
No
what
problem.
I was going to, okay, go ahead, finish
No,
up.
I just say no problem. Go ahead, you got it. You have the talking stick.
Yeah. We're having that problem with Steve too, so we should work on that with Steve. What I was going to say is I found that too. It starts out vague, but those questions will also pop up other questions sometimes that are in that like graph, right, Bill? Like the question graph, or is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that question graph. And then I think it starts to be drilled down a little bit more as you start opening up those questions.
Well,
You
the
know,
second
I think it was Bill the other day said that thing it'll keep expanding and adding more and more questions. And so I went and played with it a little bit. And I don't remember what the query was, but I got into the questions and I kept expanding, clicking through one more. I got 11 levels deep before it ever repeated itself. And then at about 13 levels deep, it was nothing but repeats. It stopped asking new questions, but it just kept bringing up the old question the second, third, fourth time. I mean, I went through like 30 reps on the thing and never saw another new question. But I got 71, I think, questions off of that one query, unique questions, which is pretty impressive. And I found maybe a baker's dozen of them that were just totally off the wall, irrelevant.
Yeah, but that's less. What less?
Not that
10,
bad.
15%. That's not bad.
No,
For a
it's not that
search
bad.
engine, that's
But
pretty good.
what I found was that in the beginning, in the first round or two, that's where the most off the wall responses appeared.
Yes.
And as you went on down and drilled down a little bit, it started to dial it in better.
Yeah.
So
And
we're finding those questions from query logs.
Mhm.
So what people actually ask.
so it would be they input one word, then they'd say, okay, what did they do to the query next?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I wonder how much effect us clicking on those PAA questions might have in the appearances of those questions in the SERP and even on the SERP itself, if any. Am I skewing things by going in there and doing 150 tests? I
Probably
doubt
not helping.
it's probably not helping. Yeah.
When Google came out with the Venice update, where they're showing local organic results in search results, they said in the patent for that if people kept on clicking on those, they would keep on showing them.
That's that's going back a ways.
Yeah. Well, they're still using those. They're still appearing.
Yeah, and if it worked once, they're more liable to use it again in a similar task, right?
Yeah. And the other thing I came across was a patent that talked about them adding locations to page titles. So if you're looking for a certain product or service in a place like New York City, and you do a search for it without including the geographic location, they might show you that result with NYC appended to the end of it. And they identify that page as one that's relevant to the location because people tend to search for the place with and without the location information in a query. So
Yeah,
they can look in the query logs and see a lot of people find that page with the words New York City or NYC in the query, or San Francisco or Los Angeles or wherever the location is.
So would they add, if they say knew your location because you were searching Google, logged in, even if you didn't put New York City in, they would add it in as if it were in the query?
Yeah, they would say, okay, we see from the query logs that a lot of people search for this and use New York City in the query. So we're going to identify it as being in New York City so that's probably more relevant to you to show you that title.
Is that because they know you're located in New York City? Or because the document is about New York City? That's what I'm trying to.
The page is about New York City. It's
Okay.
not necessarily because you're in New York City.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily tie to the geolocation of the searcher.
It's
Just
tied to the geolocation of the page.
Right. If there's one mentioned in the page.
Right.
Okay.
And if the page is findable by the query term without the location and by the query term with the location, it's going to have a query logs that show that people are finding it with the location. So you say pizza New York, pizza, and don't say New York, and they might show that page in search results, pizza New York. Pizza may not be the best choice, but
Yeah, because there is a New York style pizza, right?
yeah, and a Chicago style pizza, right?
Right. So those would skew make it a harder thing.
Make that algorithm more difficult to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I've often wondered when you're doing a search, in most cases, I don't have to put that I want businesses in Toronto. They know that.
Right. Do you remember?
It-
Do you remember when Google Maps used to have a what and a where box?
Yeah.
So at one point they decided they didn't need to do that anymore. So they just started showing the what, or they just gave you a box to type whatever you wanted into it.
Okay. So are when they do that, how are they how do they know where the user is? Because of their IP?
Because of their IP, because of if they're using a mobile device, because of GPS or a cell phone triangle
Okay. So in those cases,
or Wi-Fi access point.
right. That's why when you want businesses in a location, in a geographical location other than your own, you have to specifically add that. And even then, you don't always get just
Yeah.
results from
Right.
that city. I found it's going to give me ones from Toronto, even if I'm searching for the same thing in Florida.
So I'm going to Italy in 2 weeks. So if I want to do some searches now about places I could go see, I've got to make sure I put the location
Right.
and add zero.
I have to put the location when I'm searching for home.
You have to put the location what, Steve?
When I search from home, because Google cannot figure out where I live. And if I'm
It's because you're off in the dark edges of the planet, Steve.
oh yeah, but the other part of the problem is even if I put in like the city, the three closest cities to me, there are much larger versions of that city in other states.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like Lexington, when you say Lexington, everybody thinks Kentucky, but I'm not in Kentucky. I'm in Tennessee. Or you say Jackson, you're in Missouri. No, I'm not in Missouri. I'm in Tennessee still. And then you say Savannah, and they go Georgia, and it's like, no, not in Georgia, still in Tennessee.
And
Are
Google,
you on-
And if I'm in the Pacific, I can't do local searches here.
Are you on
Google-
satellite, Steve? Your ISP is via satellite?
ISP is via satellite, but all the searches are logged in, and it does almost the exact same thing when I use my cell phone.
Oof.
and Google will try to guess and do it wrong. Like I lived in Cardiff, which is about 5 miles from
This
here.
came back from a search.
Right. So I searched for Cardiff pizza, and Google would show me results from Wales.
You have to do Cardiff by the sea.
Mm-hmm. So get some long way to go for lunch. Yeah.
I think we can throw out Steve's results, though. I mean, when you got to go downtown to get to rural, you know.
Pretty much.
So I want to go back to Italy for just a second, Bill, about your search.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're searching locations in Italy, and you have to state that they're in Italy.
You've got to say like Milan.
Milano.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
but you don't have to
I
say
don't have to add the accent. Right.
Oh.
Italy. Right. Okay.
We have a Milan out here that also turns up for some very unusual searches.
However, Bill, if there was a city that was the same name in the U.S. as in Italy, you would probably have to say U.S. then, right?
Yeah, like Venice, California, and Venice, Italy.
Right.
Google does prefer some locations over other locations with the same name. So there's a Fort Worth, Texas, and there's a Fort Worth, California. But you search for Fort Worth something, and it'll usually show you the Texas version.
Texas, yeah, because it's bigger.
Because it's a bigger city and more
Right.
important, I guess.
There's a Paris, Virginia, there's a Paris, Texas, and there's a Paris, France. And when you say Paris in Google, It thinks you mean print.
There's Paris, Ontario too. Walmart has their model show. Their what do you call it? The show where models show new clothes. They do it out of Paris, Ontario. So
Oh no, you're kidding.
I kid you not. There's a commercial. There's a commercial here that shows it.
Where?
Paris fashion. All the hottest 2020 fashion straight out of Paris.
Oh no, that's so funny. You know what I do, Bill, when I'm searching in Italy, I use the Italian spellings. So if it's Milan, I put in Milano. And
Well, that would
then Venice is Venezia, and then I get more targeted results. But I don't know what you're searching for.
in English.
What?
Do you get results in English?
Yep.
I did an experiment once where I took the word gasoline and I translated it using Google Translate into Cantonese. And I searched for it in Google, and Google returned a bunch of results from sites that were in Chinese or Taiwanese. All of them.
Wow.
I think it diverted me, it load balanced and got me to a data center in Asia.
Well, for some reason, whenever I talk with Doc, I end up getting commercials in Spanish on YouTube. So,
Oh, is that what it is? I've been getting commercials in Spanish.
Well, my search convinced me that if somebody who was Chinese and had a car that was running out of gas, and they typed to try to find gasoline nearby in Cantonese, they'd have a long drive to pick up that gas.
I have a question for you guys on images. I was listening to Jason Barnett late last night on an Australian show, and he was talking about titling images to help Google understand how the image relates to the text and content. And yeah, Terry's nodding his head. Do you do that, Terry? Title your images?
Yeah, especially when I'm putting them in a news article, because it is definitely part of the news algorithm.
Okay. I'm gonna have to think about that, because I use alt text, but I don't often title the image, so I need to.
Yeah, see, I would also put the keyword as the image name.
You put the keyword as the image name.
Yep.
So last night in his examples, he was using the titles, like.
Yeah, Google does not index that stuff.
Well, see, that's what I thought. So
yeah, well, it just shows, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. I was a little
confused by that. Okay, and it was too late at night for me to ask intelligent questions on a webinar.
Here's the way we do it. Image is named, usually keyword, or as you would for an alt tag. Alt tag is almost always the same as what the image name is. Then I use a title. I use the titles because some browsers, when you do a mouse over an image, that brings up a little pop-up with the title. And that's more descriptive of what that image is. But then I also do a long description describing what that image is for screen readers, for ALI and accessibility issues. So when we add an image to a website, there's all kinds of extra crap that gets added to it that I'm sure if Google had their way, we'd strip it out to make the site faster.
Maybe, but okay, I'm going to start doing that, adding more stuff to images, because right now what I do is I do compression and I do the alt tags, but I don't do a title.
Yep. I do the titles on anything that somebody might put their mouse over, and I might even note that it's clickable. Click here to see a large.
They're not actually titles. A lot of things call them tooltips.
Tooltips, yes.
Yeah.
Tooltips.
A lot of browsers use the title as a tooltip. So
How about captions, Steve? Do you use captions at all?
And it really depends on the design of the website. Because some websites captions look like hell, and other sites it's appropriate.
Captions are also good if you have to give credit to someone or something.
Yeah, that's about the only time I do them is when I'm giving photo credit or,
right.
But I just wondered, is there any technical benefit to a caption? I can't imagine it being any more than just seeing as another bit of contextual text on the page that might be married to the image, but it's not going to have anything to do with like image search or rankings.
Well, like for the jewelry store clients, where we have their image galleries that now look more like a Instagram page, where it's just populated with a tile work of images. And then as you mouse over each image, the image might expand a little bit, and then you'll get a little tooltip pop-up that tells you what that image is. And then if you click on it, then you get the bigger image with the full description and all that other fun stuff. And it's great from a user interface for jewelry sites and very visually heavy sites, because we originally started building them like the old photo galleries, where there was a little caption underneath every image, and people hate those. They just want to be able to scroll and say, "Oh, pretty," and continue scrolling. Now, whether or not it's better for search or not, we honestly don't care. Because I'm far more interested in making sure the user has a good experience than Google does on pages like that.
I found it to be a really good way to display information about an image.
On the plus side, we kill on image search, probably for these because of the things we do. They don't help us in regular search, but when it comes to image search, we've got certain types of jewelry that have been placed in the top 3 for a decade or longer now, and they get a staggering amount of traffic from just those images. And they're usually buyers.
Okay, that's cool. And I want to think about that. I was thinking about it mainly for the stuff that I do, but I also have a retail client who has a gajillion images on their page, and they don't do any of that with their images. So.
There's some places, though, that don't want to do that because they don't want to be an image search. I used to do everything. I used to use the SKU numbers for the product name because I didn't want it found in image search, because then you have to deal with people hot linking. Is that what it's called, Steve? To your images, and that can be a real pain. And if you have nice images better than everyone else has, you start finding your images all over the internet.
No, there's a real simple script that you use that says that if this image is loaded from some other website than mine, serve this ad. Buy this from here.
Or you can also display another image, which they may not be terribly thrilled with.
I used to show some pretty naughty stuff.
Yeah. The guy that stole this image from my site is one of these.
Yeah.
The best one we ever had, we got a phone call from a business who was throwing a fit because we hacked their website and put our images with ads to our website all over his website. And we asked him where he got his images from. And he said, "Well, I just went to Google and just downloaded a bunch of them." It's like, no, you didn't download any of them.
You downloaded mine.
You copied the link.
You copied the link to my image on my website. As a matter of fact,
You're
I'm drink from our
stealing.
church.
Are you familiar with the phrase hot linking? That's what
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
I had somebody from a very popular college sports team hot link to a flag from Alabama on my website and used it as an avatar in a forum. And the image was getting like 10,000 views a day. And the avatar was like a little 10 pixel by 10 pixel type thing. So,
Wow.
why didn't you just copy it? Save it somewhere. Why did you link to it?
Oh, and you had a bigger picture that they were linking to, and then they were resizing that.
They were resizing it, yeah,
Oh God!
to the point where it was so small you couldn't even make out what it was.
Don't everybody talk at once.
With form avatars, they should make you upload images rather than identify locations of your images. Because when you identify locations, it's more likely than not you'll just hot link to them.
Yeah, well, you don't know what the people on the other end are going to do. That's the problem with it. That's why you always make them local if you can.
To drag the conversation sideways for a bit, did you guys see that NordVPN has been accessed without their permission?
No.
Did they finally figure out how people got access to their servers? Because, having your VPN get hacked is a bad thing.
It's a bad
Very
Yeah.
bad.
Apparently what happened is one of the data centers they use has a remote management software that they use when they set up new servers, and they don't take it off. And somebody vectored into that and got access to the VPN and was able to copy all kinds of data.
Oh God.
Whoa.
And there are people who probably search Google looking for traces of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but having your VPN hacked is probably for some people, legitimate life-threatening event.
Yeah.
Usually gets an IT department fired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that started the conversation for all of us who don't actually have physical access to our own hardware. When your ISP sets up your hardware, are they leaving things on the server that are outside of your circle of control, and could those items be used as an attack vector?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example. I just had the guy from my ISP the other day to add a landline to our cable contract. And because because they have upgraded, he had to take away my modem and give me the new one.
Mhm.
And all he does is plugs in a 4-digit passcode, and they're remoted in.
Yeah.
And they started displaying shit on my monitor when he typed in this 4-digit passcode. I said, okay, first of all, I'd kind of like to be in the decision loop before you do something like that. Second of all, 4 digits? What is it, 1, 2, 3, 4? You couldn't come up with a little bit better passcode than that?
Wow.
But I mean,
Baseball.
and that's the kind of thing. And his explanation, because I jumped on him about it, his explanation was, at first, when they first brought this up, because they'd only been using that system for about 6 weeks, he said, when we first brought that up, they weren't leaving it on all the time. But I would have to call in. He said I could go out and have a cigarette waiting for them to get it uploaded and set up for me to tie into. So they just decided to leave it on. And I hadn't really thought about it in terms of being a vector, for a backdoor entry. But yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Especially with a 1234 password. Yeah.
Well, I can remember in the good old days when spooling up new servers, and at the time it took you to spool up a server and get your base operating system installed, and then start configuring software and security and firewall, you already had people hitting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous how fast it was. People were identifying new hardware on a system. No fun at all.
Kind of mandates that the first thing you put up is the firewall, eh?
Yeah. Then the second thing is the tools to scan to see if somebody got past your firewall before it was installed.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the old days sometimes. It was certainly more entertaining.
Flying by the seat of our pants.
Well, there was a time, 15, 20 years ago, you hear about some 19-year-old kid or even a 14-year-old kid that had hacked into some massive, supposedly secure system. And you could at least think, you know what? That kid's no idiot. That kid's got a future. He knows what he's doing. And now it's just, no, that guy had $150 to go spend on a piece of botware. They would do it for him,
And now he runs Microsoft, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Elite hackers. I'm amazed. I still occasionally hear of completely open systems. And we go into, it's like, one of our little local newspapers. They quit using their website about 2 years ago, maybe 3 now. And it was an old WordPress site, and it's so heavily compromised at this point. I even called them and told them about it, and they just simply didn't care. It's like, you do realize that when people go to your quote-unquote website that's still listed in your paper, the whole front page has been completely co-opted with this all, and they're like, yeah, but the person who had access to that's no longer with us, and nobody knows the password, so there's nothing we can do about it.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Tell you what, you do free advertising, I will fix it for you. Oh, no, we can't do that.
Can fix it in 10
I
minutes.
know that part. But they don't even want to do that. And it's like, really? Okay. Have a nice day.
Yeah, but they're potentially any system that is also attached to is now possibly compromised the same way.
Yep.
The back door, so to say. Speaking of that, did anyone else see Edward Lewis's post on X options?
On what?
On using a header called X options, X frame options.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he was. He was making a. How would I say? He was making. Pardon me.
I'm sure his post had something to do with validation, though.
Yep, sort of. It was to do with X frames, which is options, which is a header that has recently been deprecated. Now, deprecated doesn't mean it don't work. It means it's in
validate.
It's going there. It still works, and whatever. But he was hacking people's sites.
Ooh.
Hijacking their sites and then putting on Facebook, I hijacked these sites and blah, blah, blah. So I called him a dickhead, and Proof said, you've now proved beyond a doubt you're a dickhead.
He was making a point of hacking their sites and adding.
Yes, He claimed to have.
And he was bragging about it?
Yeah, he did the same thing where he verified HTML verified WordPress sites way back in the day as well. He was a dickhead then when he did that as well. You just don't publicly do that to people. He learned his lesson. At least this time, he didn't name the people he did it to.
Well, that's that at least.
But wow, what a dickhead! That it would. You could have accomplished the same thing by saying, "Hey, are you aware you can hijack a website through frame using headers?"
Well, the other aspect, aside from the fact that he hacked somebody's site, is if you come privy to that kind of information, if you got any conscience at all, you don't drop it on the goddamn internet where every Tom, Dick, and Harry could go take it and play with it. That's like, publicizing on Facebook that my next door neighbor never locks their back door.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
Put a sign in the front yard that says, "My neighbor doesn't believe in guns." You know?
Which I put that private chat, that's not available, right? Just the one on Google.
Yeah,
This is private.
This is private.
Here.
This is private to us, right?
Right.
Yeah, I got to make sure of that after what I just posted there. And I have a feeling that that's who he was talking about, because he has a tendency to go after competitors that way.
Really?
Yeah, he's a prick. And he can try and sue me for it, but I can prove he's a prick.
He can't sue you successfully if he's a prick.
I'm telling the truth. He really is a prick.
It all depends on who the burden of proof is on,
Well, so I've been sued for that before, so I kind of know.
Valid defense.
Pardon me?
Truth is a valid defense.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
both slander and libel.
Yeah, and there's lots of proof all over the internet when he's saying that on Facebook.
Really.
Kind of proves the burden of proof is there. But that is important to look at that. A lot of ISPs don't use that particular header because it can cause other issues. That's something I've learned since I retired and looked at more server side stuff with my brother.
So that's the type of header that you would use to make a PDF no index, right?
No, I believe it's to stop framing of a page.
Well, an X header is used for multiple things.
Yeah. I just got into that, so I'm not an authority or anything, but I know we check at least 5 of them.
Yeah.
And
so you can use an X header for a page that's not HTML to make it non-crawlable, non-indexable, that is.
Oh, I'm sure you can. Yeah, that would be another one, probably. Yes, correct.
The next frame would just ban use of frames that on the page.
Yeah, that's how I understood it. Back a while back, I put some information in the dojo about it too, because someone was telling me a site wasn't secure, and I was telling them that's bullshit. because it didn't have that. A lot of the stuff that ISPs don't put in there, a lot of headers that they don't use, that a lot of tools recommend using, they don't use them because they got hundreds of users that are not able to do those headers or be able to fix a page when that breaks it. Because it took me a few days to figure it all out, how you didn't break the page using those headers. And one definitely breaks no matter what you do in Chrome. Just breaks the page. Actually shows a different image. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Under our ISP, we had a lot of things. We rolled out Apache that were locked down. And if you wanted to do certain things, you had to actively request and confirm that you were going to be responsible for any issues. It's just easier for the ISP just to lock shit down and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. The way I configured my WordPress setup was you give me either your modem, you know, I forget what it's called now, but it's right in your modem, Steve. It's the modem address.
The MAC address.
Not the MAC. It's a little different than that. My brother showed me how to do it. And you can actually query their system and get that information. And then you put that in your script. And no matter what device they're using, as long as it's going through that modem, it's going to be good.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So that makes it really hard to break in. Not sure how that works with a mobile phone. Like I said, I'm still working on that platform.
I know one of the things that James has told me is I went on one of my sites that is on Sailfish that I went in to make a code change in the functions file. And I went to appearance and my file editor didn't appear. And I said, what the hell? Oh, we'll look around. We'll find he's disabled it server wide. Because he says it's a vulnerability. You know, it's a hot point for hackers to try to come in through that file editor. And of course, once they get in there, they can have a field day, right?
Yeah.
And so he says, you know, if you need to use it, okay, but you got to understand, it's on you, man.
I can tell you one of the headers, right, has a built-in problem in that WordPress actually used a version of jQuery that's very old, and that will not pass one of the new headers. You have to jump through hoops to make it pass.
Yeah, I'd heard not too long ago. In fact, it may have been you that mentioned it, that they were using a very old, like several versions old jQuery.
Whatever version.
Why in the world would they do that?
That's the only way. It's like part of the package. So
yeah,
if
but
you
I mean,
change that, it changes a whole too many things.
We got a lot of dependency issues, and
yep,
it's a lot of work to upgrade certain things.
And then you're
so
also,
it's easier just hotfix.
Yeah, it's easier to build upon the obsolete technology that's in the system already.
Yeah, and that way you don't have to worry as if the language changes, which it did, right? You don't have to worry about it because you're using the old one and it's part of the programming. Like just like ASP is not supported anymore, but it does work. Classic ASP still works.
To the extent that it ever actually worked.
You'd be surprised what I built with classic ASP, Steve, believe me. And actually, database programming, much easier. on classic ASP than PHP. That's just my opinion.
Remember when the Google guidelines used to refer to Lynx web browsers?
Yep.
Your page should be callable by a Lynx web browser. I don't think that's in there anymore. Maybe it is.
I think that's still a good way to gauge how crawlable a page is.
Hmm.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Whoops.
Steve must have got a call.
He must is that, or you got a pop-up that says, you're having a weak internet connection.
Should be.
That's very disturbing news about VPN vulnerability.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be their IT director when
No.
that happened. That's when you just go to lunch and start updating your resume. You're going to need it.
Yeah, for sure. And probably best to leave this one off.
Leave that one out, right? It's not
I'll
part
give
of
you.
the accomplishments.
I'll give you a good one here. You guys will appreciate this. Back in the mid '90s, the company I was at in LA area, we actually took the leap, built a website, put up an online website, and also built an intranet. Okay, and it was all Windows driven. We had an intranet that you could actually, the whole website, the online website was also visible on the internet, locally hosted. Okay, so you could actually go in there and see what customers were seeing. You were just looking at a different copy of it. And then we had all of our communications, our engineering documentation, our own internal chat mechanism, and they were on identical servers. And I remember I was in the board meeting the night that the IT director said he wanted to go out and buy another one of these $25,000 servers as identical to the other one. No, it's not going to handle the kind of volume. But the beauty of this is if we ever have a server issue, a couple of plugs and we're back online with this as the spare. Made good sense. They told him to go ahead and do it. And he went and bought one. And one day they did some maintenance. And somebody was helping him in there with all moving, rerouting, putting up new racks and new cable runs and everything. And we promptly put the intranet online to the whole world. And it stayed that way through a 4-day weekend.
Oh my God.
And the only reason they found it then was on Monday, he came in and tried to log into the intranet and it wouldn't accept his credentials because he wasn't on the intranet.
Oh my goodness.
And by Tuesday, he was looking for a job. Which was a shame. He was a really a nice guy and all that.
He works at that newspaper that doesn't want to update their website.
Pretty much.
We got a lot of laughs over that, though. I mean, 4 days that thing was the internet, all of that stuff, all of our bills of material and pricing and marketing information, quotes, the guts, everything that a company could possibly have, they want to keep confidential, was wide open. As far as we know, nobody got it. Just blind fool luck.
Oh, that was lucky. 4 days.
Yep. It was over Thanksgiving 4-day weekend.
Oh, everybody was with their family. Or something.
Everybody was busy eating. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Wow.
So those pages weren't like indexed anywhere.
Apparently not. I don't. That was before the archive existed. I think. But at the time, it was kind of over most of our heads. How in the world something like that could happen? And it was just he just connected the wrong cables up to the wrong server, basically. But
It'll be fine.
yeah, this is not a problem. Pull it up. Yep, looks good. But I remember Bob, the president, who was known to be a little volatile and sometimes physical. He stormed out of his office. He had a little toy souvenir baseball bat about the size of a billy club. And he turned around, went back in his office and got it and stormed back out, heading for IT. And somebody, hit the parking lot, quick.
Whoa.
With a toy baseball bat.
Yeah, one of those souvenir bats. He would have wore that thing out or stuck it somewhere the sun didn't shine, one or the other. But and Bob just went in there because somebody came in and told him about it. He went down and he looked and he double checked. Yep, this is the VPN, and yes, this is on the outside cable. And the cables were even labeled. Okay, they were properly labeled. They were just hooked up to the wrong port. And he just walked over and started jerking power plugs. No shutdown, no. Just start ripping all the power cord out.
Whoa.
Did the trick. Took a while to sort it out and get it back online again, but it did get offline in a hurry.
Yeah. I had an old real estate client. We wired up their new building, and in the network closet, we had all our patch panels and stuff. And over the weekend, somebody had an issue, and they assumed that the problem was the network in the building. And so they were in the patch panels trying to figure out which one was there. Well, when I came in, they called me in the morning because nothing worked. I came in and there were some 250 cables just hanging there, not plugged into anything.
That'll do it every time.
They're like, this out and get this working again. It's like, oh yeah, this is gonna suck for you guys because I'm gonna be here all day, and I'm gonna need help, and we're gonna need our walkie-talkies, and this is going to suck because whoever came in before us didn't bother to label too much,
Or nothing.
So then, or nothing. So we spent the whole day, and they're like, can't you just plug it all in? So well, I could, but if this happens again, you're just going to be paying for it again. So let me do it right. Let me get it all labeled. Let's go ahead and swap out some of these cables so they're not all the same color yellow. And let's swap in some red ones for servers and some green ones for routers and switches. And they're like, is that why those cables are different colors?
Yeah, you can do it. You can either do it right or you can do it several times. Your choice.
Oh my gosh.
So this is what happens sometimes when your website goes down. Somebody's experimenting with the colors of the cables in the network closet.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've seen those pictures where you see a cable room that's just a mash of mixed up, twisted cables. I've been in more of those rooms. I've been in enough of them. I don't do that job anymore. I've got PTSD from it. I'll open a closet, see all the wires, and just close the doors and leave.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those closets. I was lucky I didn't have to work in them, but I know that, talk about a spaghetti mess. Jesus.
Oh, shit.
Check out the link.
When I was working in data centers, of course, you pull up the floor tile and see the same thing. The only difference were those cables were usually 1.5 inches in diameter, and they ran 100 yards.
In the late 90s, I had an office in an old brewery. And it was 5 stories tall, old brick construction. I mean, it was a gorgeous building. and I needed internet ISDN at the time, and new phones brought to my office. And the guy from the phone company came and walked into the phone room, and it was just one of them 1950s phone rooms with just loose wire all over the place. And he's just looking at me, and I'm like, and he
You're
goes,
kidding, right?
we need to find a way to figure out which wires go to your office. I said, I got you beat. You see this big old fat wire coming down the stairwell? He goes, yeah. I go, that's from my office. He goes, oh, thank you. And I just dropped a wire right down the middle of the stairwell.
Oh no,
And
hysterical.
that's what I rented my office off on for 2 years. People walking by it every day had no clue why that was there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're at the top of the hour, everyone. So I think it's time to call it a day. Thank you all for
Awesome,
joining
everybody.
us.
Thank you.
Bye all. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.